Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. There was something else that I thought of today too that we might want to throw into that. I don't know if we can. Right.
We're just
Mike,
waiting
are
for
we
Nick.
good?
Yeah, we're good. Yep.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the August 3rd, 2022 meeting for the Historical Architectural Review Board, an advisory board to Bethlehem City Council who are appointed by the mayor. Membership on the board must include a registered architect, a licensed real estate broker, and 6 other residents with knowledge or interest in historic preservation and Bethlehem's building inspector. We are advised by our historic preservation architect, Joe Phillips. Today's review will be conducted as follows. Applicants for a Certificate of Appropriateness, COA, will be reviewed in the order in which they were received. Mr. Phillips will describe the proposed changes as well as significant features of the building and describe the Secretary of Interior standards that apply to your project. Changes to district structures are based on Bethlehem's historic ordinance and the Secretary of Interior standards. Project representatives are welcome to provide additional information and respond to questions from board members. A motion is made and a second solicited. Additional discussion may ensue before the vote is taken. The motion may approve the submission as made or approve with modifications. It may deny with clear reasons why the proposal does not meet the qualifications. It may be tabled with a list of clarifications needed to allow the board to make a recommendation. Action on a COA requires the majority of members present. The recommendation of the board is then submitted to City Council for issuance or denial of the COA. City Council typically meets the first and third Tuesday of every month. Recommendations made by us today will be acted upon by Council at their next meeting, which you may attend. No work can begin until approval is received. Any conflict of interest from the board with any applications today?
No,
I'm an
Good.
applicant.
Oh, you're an applicant?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you'll just sit on the side then, Nick. Okay. So 36 East Wall Street, please.
How you doing?
Okay.
Additional information.
Your name, sir?
Dennis Murphy, 36 East Wall.
Yep.
Is this in addition to your application?
Yeah. I thought it would make it easier, and I just got it.
You can stay right there if you want. You
Yep.
can. All right, 36 East Wall Street. The applicant owner of the property located at 36 East Wall Street proposes to remove a wood fence and wood arbor, construct a 6-foot-high brick wall along the rear and side lot lines, and install a 6-foot-high wrought iron gate that will be painted black and detailed as shown in the photograph included in the application. New brick wall will be in 2 sections along the rear lot line and 1 section along the side lot line. And that section on the side yard, if you look at the photographs, there's some arborvitae there, so it will extend back to that line of existing arborvitae plantings. And the brick wall was proposed to be detailed as shown in the photograph included in the application. Does this supersede that?
No, that's just additional information to show you what the brick actually looks like.
Okay.
I'm gonna pass them down it. So is
I
this
didn't have that.
a close-up, I guess you want to call this almost?
Close up, I guess,
Yep.
yeah,
Okay.
Okay.
just so you can see the brick.
Let's Some character defining features of the home: two-story home constructed in the 1860s, has a cross-gabled roof penetrated by a brick chimney on the left. The gutters are half round and the downspouts are round. Both are copper. The 3-bay facade below the roof line is smooth brick with window openings containing 2/2 light double-hung windows with heavy heads and sills. Second floor windows are fitted with louvered operable shutters, and the first floor windows are fitted with paneled operable shutters. The entrance door is asymmetrically located to the right of the facade, is accessed by marble steps with wrought iron handrails. Shallow hood is located over the door, and transom opening is supported by brackets on each end that align with the wide door jamb trim. The 4-panel painted wood door has radius top panels. As far as the guidelines, citations, Secretary of Interior Standards number 9, new additions, exterior alterations, related new construction will not destroy historic materials, features, and spatial relationships that characterize the property. New work shall be differentiated from the old and will be compatible with historic materials, features, size, scale, and proportion, and massing to protect the integrity of the historic property and its environment. Number 10, new additions and adjacent or related new construction will be undertaken in such a manner that if removed in the future, the essential form and integrity of the historic property and its environment will be unimpaired. Bethlehem Historic Guidelines regarding site elements, walls, and gates. Landscape walls are typically constructed of local stone or brick. Construction of the walls that visually block primary building facades from the public right-of-way, particularly at historically important buildings, is discouraged. It is recommended that walls in front yards be limited to 36 inches in height. Gates. When installed with a wall, they are generally flanked by piers or gate posts that can be either wood or metal. And the Harb discourages blocking views to principal elevations of historic buildings and settings with tall, solid fences, solid walls, or dense plantings and foliage. This is at the rear of the property.
Correct.
Just to note that. It's all yours. Go ahead.
This is much different than I had 5 years ago, and I appreciate everything that was said. This is the rear of the house. What you're looking at is...
Which
I'm sorry.
Which picture?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
A copy, so the fence that you're looking at is actually a replacement with the exact fence that collapsed in 2004. We bought the house in 2002, and it just simply was rotted, fell down. So we put it right back up the way it was. And it's been nice, but this is the last thing we have to do on our house. We've been really careful with what we've done in front of the house, and so we're hoping just to do something that's very, very bad. So we had looked, actually, we've been looking at this for 2 years, and we originally thought that maybe what we would do is just simply make the fence 6 feet high. Everybody else in the backup has it, and we thought, well, if we're going to do that, we'll do something a little bit differently. And then, of course, you have the fence. There was a fence 2 houses down that was approved about 4 or 5 months ago. You have the ubiquitous, wood fence 6 feet. So we could do that, but what we're looking at is doing a metal gate with brick wall, the fence. So just as we've done in the front, we found a iron gate from about 1860 to 1890. And that's actually my hand. I'm holding that up, but we blacked it out to do what we were proof. So we're not. And this actually is the third one. Back in September 2021, we actually had found an iron gate that we liked, but we missed your meeting date. So your application date. So we thought we'd get it the next month. The gate was sold. So we had to start again. So we found one in January. Once again, we missed the date. And so we lost that one. And the different places, because they're hard to find. And so anyway, we've got this one. As far as we know, it may still be there. We won't know until Friday.
Okay.
So if you deny it, I don't even have to worry about it. But that is the gate minus my farm. And, we have to have it sandblasted, and it has to be primed with a high grade of paint for the metal, and then we'll paint it black.
So how tall is this gate?
6 feet, exactly.
Lucky.
Well, we knew from Mr. Piper, who, by the way, very, very nice. He actually came up about a week and a half ago, and on a Thursday afternoon, 12 o'clock, 95 degrees, not a cloud in the sky, with a jacket. And he was so helpful. He looked over everything. He made sure that it was all done correctly. So that's what we would like to do. So the next picture, so that would be the gate. Now the gate.
How wide is the gate, excuse me?
Wide, it's 40 inches. That's what handicap says.
Yeah, so where would the gate be?
That's what I was just gonna say. The gate would be right there.
Here?
So, yes, so right where the gate is there.
Yep.
That's where the gate's gonna be.
Okay.
It's because the walkway, I don't want to call it the whole walkway, so the walkway is right there. So the fence that we were looking at was this fence. This fence was built in 1856. The reason why we know it's because that was the house that we had. So this was a fence that went with our house. And our house was built in 1860. So we're looking at a fence such as this with the posts and then the setback of the brick. Now, that's what we're looking for in the back where the wooden fence is.
So the entire, where the wood fence is now would entirely be brick,
Yes.
both sides of the
Oh,
gate,
yeah.
like both sides of the gate.
So, brick, gate, brick, brick.
Okay.
The metal gate that's in the photograph, is that or the metal fence, is that your fence or is that a neighbor's fence?
That's our next door neighbor's fence. Now, we tried, actually, it was serendipity. The fact that if you look at the picture, it actually has the circles, and so does his fence.
Oh, I see them on the top.
All right, and we didn't ask him to change his fence to circles, so, it has, so it matches.
So it
his.
worked out, yeah.
So it worked out well. So that's what we're looking at, and the paper that you had just gotten, this is just to show you, we're looking at the front of the brick of our house, which is red. We've actually, and then we're actually going to be able to do the same mortar that we used in front of the house. So we had our house, we worked on it. We had it clean, and then we put the brick is red, and then we used this type of mortar. So we actually found a company that makes the brick that was consumable for 1865, 1860. You can't order that until you either approve it or not. You can't get the mortar. The mortar comes from France. You can't get that to either one way or the other. And so the same with the gate. So we're hoping, and the mason also, we have a mason who's looking forward to doing, if it's approved, simply because he's never done anything like this.
Yeah.
So how literal is this photograph? We talked about color, we talked about mortar. Is the,
The mortar is a tan.
well,
This one looks more white, but it's actually tan. I don't know.
that,
if
no,
it's in our house.
I'm talking about the bond. Is it literally going to be Flemish bond and then the vine joint for the pointing?
Yes, everything's gonna look.
So
very-
this is literally how how the brick is going to be laid, and the joint is a vine joint like that.
Well, it's actually, I just took it so you could see what color it was of the brick. It's going to be laid as it's shown on.
So it's not going to be in Flemish
No.
pattern.
No.
It will be common.
And that's a different joint. It's hard to tell whether those joints have been raked out or if the mortar has just
This is
fallen
so-
out.
this-
But we're going to match that joint
Yeah, so we're gonna match.
to that pattern.
Right, so you're gonna have that brick laid, and then you're gonna have not cement, you're gonna have mortar. Just like the front of our house.
Of course.
But
which
it's
was
just
approved
gonna
by the board.
just going to be a regular running bond, not Flemish bond. But the joint has a very narrow. It's a
Yes.
vine joint.
Yeah.
It's very thin. So that's the
That's
joint
way
you're going.
we're-
Okay.
yes.
And the brick is only across the back here. Is there any brick going up the side of the?
Yes,
There is.
the brick will be going up the side as was mentioned. Up to the arborvitae.
Up to the arborvitae. Okay, I wasn't sure. Yeah.
So it will go around.
So this is going to be 6 feet going across the entire back.
Yes, so it's going to be 6 feet up high,
Yep.
and
Then the gate,
then the gate's here, and then
6 feet.
Well, it's like 4 feet and 7 feet.
And what would be the
Applicant.
length?
It's 4 feet, gate,
Like
7
how
feet.
far back
something.
in?
Okay. But 6 feet in height.
6 feet.
11.
Okay. Is this a driveway?
yes, that's his drive. That's the Mr.'s driveway.
Okay. When Craig was up there, my only concern is what's it going to be like backing out of or coming into that driveway for the sight lines?
The only thing say, if I come back here and say, I want to put a wooden fence in, it'd be the same issue.
Well, no, it would be an issue. No, I understand. It would be an issue no matter what. It's the 6 foot height is the issue, not what the material or what you make of it. How far is this distance?
About 3 feet.
Okay.
I didn't know you were going to ask that question. I would've measured.
Which distance is that?
Between the end of the fence and the end of the end
To the curb.
to the
It
curb.
looks like more
Because I'm
than
assuming this
3.
is an alley.
Yes, in that one.
Okay.
Correct.
But the line of sight will be obstructed not by that 3 feet. It will be governed not by that 3 feet, but by the close to 12 feet from the curb to the proposed fence. That's almost a car's length.
It is a car. Now, his car does not extend past his fence. His part.
And how close will the new brick wall be located to the side of his metal
Well,
fence?
we're gonna have to keep it at least, I guess, 6 inches away, because they're gonna have to
Point it and
point.
get a trowel down there.
So is this distance here approximately 6 feet then from here to the fence
Oh,
now?
no, that's, at least 10.
Oh, okay.
It is 10. Now, I don't know if anybody looked at the back of our yard right now. Where this is, the butterfly garden, my wife's. So we have,
Yes.
you can't see anything anyway.
It's very nice. I
Yeah.
drove by this afternoon.
All right. As I said, we're not difficult. So if you say, nah, we're not gonna go, that's fine. Because I'll just come back next month, because I don't have to wait for anybody
Yeah.
with a wooden fence.
I mean, I like the fence personally. I think
I do
I
too.
think it's gonna look
I think
really
it's
nice.
interesting.
I mean, I would make a motion to approve, just pending your actual fence approval.
Oh, yeah. All right.
So what I
So it
mean
has
by
to go
Fence
to the
permit,
council.
right?
your fence permit. So the materials and the style and the layout is all, I think it suits the time and the period well. Just it would have to be approved through the zoning office so that the lines of sight and everything match up.
I have to tell you, when I was here 5 years ago, we were very fortunate. We go to New York a lot, so we, especially with the federal house, we go down to Soho in the city and down to, and also down Philly. 2007, we happened to be down there, and we were taking pictures and we were taking notes. There was a gentleman 2 houses down who was doing the same thing, but he worked for the New York City Historical Preservation Committee. So he came up and talked to us. Anyway, I gave him a call and sent him the pictures just to make sure. Because he knew it. I mean, we've been in contact him all the time. And because we don't want to have a problem, and there's no sense wasting your time or our time.
Yeah.
Just call him and he can say, no, that's not right. So he did say that it was historically correct.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But just
Well-
different.
I also quite like the design. I would only caution that a more precise drawing and plan be made that will help you with material quantity takeoffs, but also compositionally. You're showing here, we're looking at a design that is largely requires columns to be built. If it's a 6 foot kind of spacing between the columns, and the columns look to be about minimum 2 feet on each end. You're left with about 4 feet in between, and you have 1, 2, 3 setbacks or offsets. That pattern may be quite congested and not possible.
We had already talked, well, we had talked to Mr. Piper, and we also talked to the Masons to do it. So we know, then that was a question that was brought up. Where we had this fence before, we had many
Bigger.
big, all right, so we
Yeah.
know we're gonna have to scale it down.
Yeah.
All right, I mean, we know that.
Yeah,
So
no,
the only thing is I'm looking, I'm thinking, well, I hope you guys know what we did in the front, what we've done, that we're gonna take care. It's basically, we know we're passing it on. So hopefully the next person will just maintain it, not start.
Yeah. no, but my main point was that the effect of depth and shadow and texture and timelessness may be lost when it is so congested, and you will have to probably get rid of some of the cornices, some of the setbacks, just because the brick is not going to allow you. You're working with an 8-inch module. So the design of the brick wall itself is it's something that you're gonna come against. Actual design of the pattern. Yeah, that's all. And it's just a word of caution.
No, I do, and I know that the Masons we talked to understand that you have to perhaps change it. I'm just hoping that we didn't have to go back again and say,
Yeah.
well, now this is the new one. Again, if you saw the what we've done with the front one, take care of that.
No, I'm comfortable making the motion to approve as submitted, pending the building permit application for the fence itself.
Okay, now, I know the Mason has to go to Mr. Piper's group, and he has to show them what they're doing as far as height and depth and that type of thing. So hopefully that, your concern will be answered.
Yeah, so I was going to tell Nick that, so he'll have to submit for a building permit. So as part of that, you're Mason. As part of the building permit, I'm the chief inspector. So,
Oh, okay.
so he's going to have to submit how the details is how he's going to draw it, footers, found whatever he's going to put in. At that time, he'll do the setbacks and everything else. Well, so that's what I'm saying. I'm approving it for materials and everything, just pending whatever result. If there's any changes we have in the construction of it.
Okay, so let's just see, the gentleman concerned, which we know, that what the picture you're looking at now is really big. So we're gonna have to slim it down. So will that be taken care of by the Mason, and then he'll just show you what we've slimmed down, and you say yes or no?
Yep.
I second the motion that Mike made.
Motion has been made by Mike, seconded by Connie. Is there any further comment? Okay. Rod?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Mike made the motion. Nick?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. And
So-
then I'll make sure our Mason.
Yeah, so your next step is this will go to council. You get the COA. You're sure with that process. Once you get that, you can apply. Your Mason can apply for the permit.
So then I can buy the gate on
Yes.
Friday. All right. That's all I need to know. All right. Thank you very much.
408 North New Street, please.
David Thompson.
Another fence, huh?
All right. The applicant owner of the property located at 408 North New Street proposes to remove an existing fence and replace it with similar unpainted wood fence. The height and style design of the fence will vary depending on the location as depicted on the site plan included in the application. It's noted that at the January 6, 2021 meeting, Harb approved new fencing that was located on an expanded deck between the house and garage. And I put that in here as follows. Approved modifications to adjacent deck include following details. Trex or comparable composite decking to be replaced in kind as needed. Expanded portions of deck to have new decking, posts, and handrail assembly cedar fencing with lattice privacy screen, etc., to be replaced in kind and to match existing. So there was fencing approved in January of 2021. As far as the defining features of the home, the structure is a 2-story, 5-bay brick masonry dwelling with a medium pitch slate gable roof. Defining features include 1/1 double hung windows, paneled window shutters at the entry level, and louvered window shutters at the upper level, along with a wood framed Gothic Revival front porch with built in seats. House dates from around 1870 and is Federal Revival in style. The house was enlarged from 3 to 5 bays in 1904, becoming attached to adjacent twin residence to the south. A series of expansions to the rear east were completed during the early 1990s through the mid-2000s, with the current rear garage and deck completed within the last year. Citations. Number 9, again, regarding new additions and exterior alterations. And then the Bethlehem Historic District guidelines, again, site elements, walls, gates. Walls, landscape walls are typically constructed of local stone or brick. The construction of walls that visually block primary building facades from the public right-of-way, particularly at historically important buildings, is discouraged. It's recommended that walls in front yards be limited to 36 inches in height. Gates, when installed with a wall, they are generally flanked by piers or gate posts that can be either wood or metal. The Harb discourages blocking views to principal elevations of historic buildings and settings with tall, solid fences, walls, or dense plantings and foliage. The rest is up to you.
That tripped me up.
Yeah. Sometimes when you're typing.
So our property, we actually have 4 different fences that span our driveway area. So the first one is on the street side. It's a 6-foot section to the right, and then maybe less than 2 feet to the left, looking down, and looking to basically replace as like.
That's photograph number 1.
Okay. So it's got a panel with a lattice work on top.
This right here, this is your like for like?
The number 1.
Same posts, and I see you have some fixtures on top of the posts, same thing.
The fence is 20 years old, and you can see on the left side, it's actually falling down, and then it's completely rotted out. And then on the right side, it's rotten on the top, so it needs to be replaced.
Do you have by chance, do you have a picture or any sort of diagram of the light you put on top of the post?
I'll probably use the same one.
Oh, okay.
Or if they're not functioning yet.
Okay.
Okay. Number 2 is more of the same, or is that describing the side fence?
2 is the side fence, really. So between 408, my property, and 418, Dorothy Stevenson property, we have this, I call it a wilderness fence. It's 35 years old. I think it was installed by the former owner. They get in-ground pool in our backyard. It's completely rotten. I mean, some of the posts are falling down, so it really needs to be replaced. We both like to have the fence with some airflow between them because we have lots of plants on both sides of that fence. So we're proposing to do something similar where we have a 4-inch flat board instead of the wilderness style.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, for airflow, I'm asking for one-sided, but if you approve continuing the second-sided, because I'm thinking about sharing the cost with her,
Mm-hmm.
so that she's got a good side and I have a good side.
Mhm.
Then we would go ahead and put another slat on both sides, not offsetting them, keep them the same, so that the gap
Yeah.
fence
Lines up.
won't be a shadow style.
Mhm.
But this one will be alternating, but these would be the same.
And there'd be no space in between the fences. You'd butt them like right up against each other.
Well, there'd be.
It's one fence, right?
Oh, it's one
One
fence.
fence.
Double-sided.
Two-sided.
Oh, two-sided fence. I'm sorry. Okay, I thought you were
Yeah.
going something different.
I get it.
It's about 110 feet long, and it's got a big maple tree on our property line that fence line. And so it goes straight from the street back.
Same.
towards,
Same height?
It'd be like 3 feet, but in the back, my property, our property sloped down. So I'd like to sort of have the back end of the property be more than the 3 foot, and I'd have a 3 foot like this, but sort of make
Yeah.
it more horizontal.
It does
Scope.
jump up way in the back, doesn't it, a little bit? Or
Yeah.
that might be the neighbor.
If you look at number 4,
Yeah.
you can see that Dottie Taylor is a 6-foot fence there, so the fence was 3 foot, but they also kind of added like the bottom, 1.5 foot of space.
Mhm.
So it really needs to be higher
Yeah.
in the back.
So approximately where would the 3 foot run to, and then where would it jump up
It
to
might
6 foot?
start 3
At
foot
the tree?
Street line,
Right.
and it would probably rise to about 5.5 to 6 feet.
Where would that be?
Okay, so it's going to be a consistent height. The bottom will follow grade.
Okay.
So we can say the top of the fence will be 3 feet at the street line. It will continue at a constant height or elevation not to exceed 6 feet,
Yeah, that works.
just to make it easy. Okay.
Yep.
And that would be the yellow portion on your.
About 110 feet.
128. 128.
No, that's all back to my property. But Dorothy's property is about 110.
Okay, so that takes us through photograph number 4, right?
And then, so the third fence I'd like to construct is going to be like sort of an L shape. It's going to be cover number 5, picture number 5. So that's the fence, the current fence that's between Dottie Taylor's house and my house. I'd like to put the new fence up against that. And then photograph 6 is the fence that between my house and George's house on Church Street. And you can kind of see that fence, I don't know when it was constructed, but it's obviously not conforming to 6 foot, it's 7 foot high. But I'm proposing 6 foot height across.
So that's your fence. That fence will come down or no?
Now, that fence is on his property, about 3 feet off of his property line. So I'm
Okay.
asking to install a new fence on the property line between my property and his property. So it'll be a 3 foot sort of no man's land between the
Is your property kind of like where that electrical box ends?
two. If you go back to 5, you can see the.
Oh, I got you.
marker for the
Yep.
corner of the property.
I got you.
So there you can kind of see the distance between the corner of the property and his fence.
And that fence we're looking at in number 5 there, is that also coming down, or you're again replacing?
No,
And
that's, we would put up a new fence up against.
so both that and the back as well.
So this third fence would be up against the stockade fence.
Right.
But would not be next to the
Got it.
fence in number 6.
I got you.
What is the style of that fence?
The one they constructed similar to what we did on deck.
Okay.
Oh,
That
So
one.
it'll be 6 feet high with a lattice on top
Well,
or no?
without the lattice.
Okay.
Okay.
Because
Same style without
he
lattice,
took
so
his
just
fence down,
vertical
he built
boards.
it 5 feet with a lattice,
Mhm.
but his 7 feet. So I'm going to see the top of his fence.
the lattice mate serves no purpose.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're doing all this for conformity on your property?
Nice to put this fence down.
And it's all cedar fencing that you're putting in, or?
This isn't cedar, it's,
Yeah, that's what he did. He's good side of spacing than me.
treated lumber.
Treated, okay.
It's really hard
How's it? Is he
Yeah.
Why would you put his good side facing the neighbor? You know what I mean? If it's going right up against. That's something I can handle.
That's probably a zoning thing. really.
Yeah, it's not for us, but I'm just curious.
Right.
I'll bring it up.
Got
to
it.
Craig.
Okay.
It's already a fence. My inclination.
You never know. Then he
It's the same material that you put on your deck. Right, but it is going to be the same material.
Unstained, unpainted, just,
Going to have the same caps on the posts and everything, or no?
There are no caps.
Probably, or yes.
Probably, proposed the wood caps.
They're not the solar ones, are they? They have on there now? Those solar lights, they're just metal caps. Okay.
They look copper, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would it be a similar profile though, up to the? Okay, we ran out of photographs.
That's it.
We ready for a motion?
Do that again 10 years from now.
yeah, I would, any other questions? I'll make a motion. Make a motion to approve a certificate of appropriateness for 408 North New Street to replace existing fencing with at the front of the property, along the side, along the back of the property, as detailed in the application.
I second.
I just have one comment, actually. It's not even a question. When you do apply for your zoning permit, your building permit, after you move forward, I just have a question. I just want to make you aware. I'm going to ask it then, and I hopefully I'll have the answer. But in picture number 5, it appears the good side's facing out.
Your neighbor's fence.
Your neighbor's fence. So I don't know if you have to put the good side facing out. Typically, that's what we call for.
Well, it's actually gonna have both sides.
I know, that's what I got to find out. So if it's, both sides of the fence are the same.
Yeah,
It's
cause,
not, it's gonna be like posts.
It's post.
constructed.
yeah, so yeah, it
Oh.
is. So yeah,
Then it's not going to
that's
matter.
in the center of the post.
Like-
It's
Then it's
centered
not
on the
gonna
post.
Like I grew up, where I grew up, you always have to put the good side out.
Yeah,
Right.
then it's not going to matter.
That's
Yeah.
not why you allow the good side in.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's kind of like what I was saying with the second fence, like, to get it approved, but if we
Sure.
do good side on both, if, we share the cost.
Yeah.
Right.
You can ignore my,
Then I'm
no.
gonna put the good side for my house and the fence.
you can ignore my comment then.
Okay, motion has been made by Rod, seconded by Joe. Connie,
Aye.
Michael,
All right.
Nick.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Welcome. Thank you. (143) West Broad Street, Skyline West.
Hey.
Hello. Hello.
Um,
So, that's what.
Great.
Silva. Thank you for giving me the excuse to put a suit on. This is the first time I've worn a suit in a year.
Even with the tie, not just the jacket, right?
Dressed up.
I want you to know that. It's been a long time in isolation. So we're we have all kinds
I'm
of
with you.
PowerPoints and all that kind of stuff. And we figured it's just better if we sit down and we write now. So what you're most interested in, what things you'd like to do.
and ask Antonio to present that first to show the materials, and then we'd like to respond to what your questions are.
Yeah, I think it'll be good just to have a give and take and get everyone comfortable. Let me go through my little part here. The applicant of the property located at 143 West Broad Street proposes to construct a new multifamily residential building with a parking deck and amenities. The project previously received approval for the demolition of the existing structure at the June 19th, 2018 City Council meeting. This application was previously reviewed by Harb on April 4th, 2018 and June 6th, 2018, and I attached the meeting minutes for your information from those meetings. Since the last submission, the size and height of the project has been reduced by 1 floor, and the number of units has been reduced from 50 to 40. The previously submitted primarily white color scheme and texture has been revised to incorporate colors consistent with the stone construction prominent in the historic district and textures that reflect the natural elements of stone and wood. The preservation of the natural flora on the site is stated to be a primary goal of the project. The 5-story flat roof building will house 40 residential living units. The lowest level, which houses a parking deck, will be built on piers and hover over the sloping topography. The east face of the building will contain a significant amount of glass, include balconies for the living units, and will have views of and be viewed from downtown Bethlehem, the Monocacy Valley, and South Mountain. The west face of the building will be more solid with limited windows and will have views of and will be viewed from Route 378 and West Bethlehem. The north face of the building will have a head house that faces Broad Street. The entrance to the site and the parking deck will be taken from Broad Street. The proposed building is long and narrow and gently bends with the contours of the sloping site. Some guideline citations. Not sure if this one applies, but number 8, archaeological resources. This is from Secretary of Standards, Interior Standards. If there are any, will be protected and preserved in place. If such resources must be disturbed, mitigation measures will be undertaken. Number 9, new additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction will not destroy historic materials, features, and spatial relationships that characterize the property. The new work shall be differentiated from the old and will be compatible with historic materials, features, size, scale, and proportion, and massing to protect the integrity of the historic property and its environment. Another citation is the Bethlehem Historic Conservation District Ordinance, which basically charges us with protecting and regulating buildings in areas of historic interest and importance within the city. And then the Bethlehem Historic Guidelines are probably a little more specific, maybe even than the Secretary of Interior Standards. Compatible design principles for additions and new building construction include, but not limited to, the following. And I'm not going to read the definitions of these, but they are in your packet. Scale, which deals with height and width, building form and massing, setbacks, site coverage, orientation, architectural elements and projections, alignment, rhythm and spacing, facade proportions and window and door patterns, trim and detail, and materials. So there's a lot of guidelines that could be pertinent to this project. I included in the packet to you some publications from PHMC and also from the Preservation Alliance of Philadelphia, just to give you some additional information on how other groups and and preservation groups review completely new buildings, because this is not something that we see very often at all. The only other thing that I'll add is the site is unique. It's not like it's an infill project. So this site is kind of on an island between 378 and the Monocacy Valley. So it kind of stands on its own. The only other thing to mention, and not sure if this applies or not, I think Jeff may tell us a little more about this, but we do have a presentation coming up at our next meeting regarding historic Bethlehem museums and sites. They'll be giving a presentation about their thoughts and possibilities of having the historic Moravian Bethlehem National Historic Landmark District named to the World Heritage List. So that's the 14.7 acre site that encompasses the 18th and 19th century Moravian settlement buildings that's located just below this site in the Monocacy Valley. So we're going to have a presentation on that. I didn't read up on those on the the World Heritage information. So I don't know if that affects us or not. So you can certainly enlighten us on that. And I think this is somewhat different than an addition. It is different than an addition to a building where you're relating more directly, maybe in architectural style. I think the last thing I'll say, and then I'll be quiet, is the Secretary of Interior Standards calls for something new to be differentiated from the historic district, but compatible. And compatible is the key word. So I think that's really what we all need to get around our heads around, so that you all can make a decision, is what does compatible mean? And that can mean a lot of things to different people, I'm sure, but I think that's what we just need to get comfortable with.
So let me get that one first before I have a nice little PowerPoint that I think is just chat about it. I actually want to see that we can do that. One of the things that's troubled me about this from day one is the historic district was created in 1961 and 378 was built in 1966 to 1968. So it's troubled me as to why First Avenue was included in the historic district. And it doesn't make sense from today's perspective, because the ridge that was in effect created in the trough where 378 was in effect built into kind of really isolates Fifth Avenue. Whole one street that was left in. And for a long time, I thought 378 was took away houses on the east side of First Avenue. That was one which was included. I do have a copy of the Sandy one. I downloaded from the Library of Congress that shows that there actually were only a couple of buildings on the south side of First Street. Basically, the terrain between what is now Conestoga Street, and it really was railroad track in the country, and First Avenue was such that it looks like the people who lived on First Avenue were actually what Skyline West would turn into, the people who lived down in the Valley, yet through trees or natural growth or whatever. There was one street parallel to Broad Street, that was Paper Street, which is still an alley over on the west side.
Yeah.
Do you want to pull up the image? Well, they can't see it.
Oh,
Yeah, we can come here. We can come around.
yeah, they're there. 'Cause sometimes the pictures doesn't work, but if you keep going, I'll
Sure.
try to. Sorry, if you can.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, if you want to have Diane have it. Anyway, yeah, that's the part that's troubled me about all this, because when 378 went through, it created, we all know this.
It did.
It doesn't, it's hard to say that that relates to the former First Avenue. It's not really part of that residential district. Does it relate to Terrace Avenue across the street? Broad Street's the widest street in Bethlehem. Probably not really. And does it relate to the downtown where our largest structure? If you look at an aerial map, Conestoga Court, which is similar in length to this project, is virtually down the street from this. If they were on the same level, they would be on essentially right down the same. So it's I think if I were sitting in your chair, that's the questions I would be asking. Anticipating how does this relate? And my thought is that this needs to relate to the district as a whole, and look at the other buildings and structures and built environment of the community both now and I do have some historical perspective. I have to share with you that my parents Well, Lehigh Stationery Company, 1932. And for many, many, many years, it was located at 14 West 4th Street. And the south side collapsed, which I described. But my parents had to move from that store, bought the building that was at the west or east end of Broad Street Bridge, which was a building that was 4 stories, but it was 15-foot high ceilings. It was a 60-foot tall building, which I found an image of.
Oh, cool.
Actually,
So, we pulled it up.
So yeah, we got the Sanborn maps up there now.
here.
Yeah.
Let me-
We can point out with the mouse.
I wrote something better.
Oh, there you go.
You got a pointer? Yeah. So this is the Sanborn map that includes First Street, First Avenue. And then this is the next one over. So you can see that the property in question, 123, is right there. And 378 took out like 6 properties between this one and First Street. And that's where you have the bridge now coming over, for 378, which is right down the middle here.
Yep.
You can see that there actually were no homes on First Ave. This is Shaker Street right here, which I
Right.
there was a home here, apparently. And there may have been even then a ruin of a place down on what is now Conestoga Street. And these 2 homes were old. They were destroyed during the PennDOT process. It's a double home, I think. And there are still some ruins there of where these homes, some foundations of where these homes were. But they owned all the property up to First Street, so they owned the cliffside here. Yeah, here. And we found this out because we had to do a lot of legal work. It was like a law school quiz because both Lehigh County Assessment and PennDOT and ultimately the Development Authority screwed up on some stuff that was done when all of this was claimed first by PennDOT and by the Development Authority. So this project would go along here. And now that I look at this, I see that these housing here up to Market Street, which is project we're going to do for Market Street, actually were the people that would have been overlooking whatever natural structures were there. There's only one structure here, and this was the DAR. So this is something that was built. This is the Conestoga piece of Bethlehem history. This is the Conestoga Cannon Factory. That's why the name of the street. Conestoga cannons were originated in Bethlehem, and they were these little things that shot fireworks. They were very popular all over the country. And this moved back in the 60s when 378 was built over to a building over on the north side of Bethlehem, almost near Central Boulevard, which is a hidden building that you can't see. I'm not even sure if they're in business anymore. This is 1952. These are the last set of Sanborn maps done in the city. This, I remember from my childhood, this is the little bridge that people only see at Music Fest that goes across the street. It's in a different iteration now. And this was, the cannery was right here. But this was a big structure that was built way past the cannery that was a commercial laundry in 1952. And you can see Ohio Road, which comes down from Main Street, actually across the bridge here. And it looks like it went up and merged with Prospect.
And the little structure is there now.
Yes, and you can still see the Conestoga Court apartments, which back then were a brassiere factory. Needle trays were very big in Bethlehem. And when I was a kid, at least, it was a brassiere factory. So that was converted into condos, I think, back this year, in the late 60s or 70s. So this is the context in which all of this falls. And now I can say with a great deal of confidence that basically First Avenue, it was included in the historic district because it was a natural landscape for that to happen. And so they included those buildings. The historic district actually goes to the alley behind all the buildings on First Avenue. Today, I'm not sure that makes any sense at all because it's almost equidistant from here to the former Worst department store, now the Brewers, as it is to over here to where the, what's left of the district, which actually almost goes to this double house.
And I think the building that you were mentioning, parents owned?
Yeah, let me show you, yes, no, go back one.
Okay.
This is the reveal, this is actually the outline of Bethlehem has 3 historic districts. The Moravian Historic District, which is the National Landmark District, which was received in 2012, is this area right here. So it's 14 acres, but it's not exclusively or even mostly in the colonial industrial quarter. It includes all of God's Acre, as well as many of the buildings on Church Street, but you'll notice it does omit the Brethren's house because of the 19th century additions to the Brethren's house. And Charlene can talk at length about this. This is not my field of expertise. But this is the application for the UNESCO World Heritage Site. It does include 2 disassociated buildings, which are separate from the site. And that is, of course, the Gundy House.
That one.
Yeah, this is the National Register District, which is the 2nd district, the state district, which you are the part of. It was the first in 1961. This was 1972, but then Historic Bethlehem added an addition to the National Register District in 1991 or 2. And you can see this district actually juts out with some structures on High Street and Center Street, which is interesting. There's a bunch of other differentiation.
And the site is, point out to the site, like,
Yeah, the site is now over here. This, I'm not even sure that this map includes 378.
and this one does, right?
No, this one is a current map, which kind of got screwed up. This is a current map, which shows 378. Again, built in 66 to 68. And then this is the dividing line, which is the alley line. First 3 buildings. Right now, the first 3 buildings just look at the top of a hill with natural growth on it. And of course, 378. So,
And the gate to this property, can you go back to that one? Is pretty much directly across from Terrace there.
correct, it is.
Yeah.
So, what I'm going to show you next,
Next,
which I'm very proud of.
that one?
No, go. So keep going. Keep going. You all know about Clark and Rappuano, I assume. Clark and Rappuano was the major New York firm that designed the north side, and much of what you see is Bethlehem today was done by them between 1956 and 1969. A variety of plans that were designed to make Bethlehem Steel's corporate city worthy of Bethlehem Steel. The 378 was originally designed, again, by Clark and Rappuano with Bethlehem Steel and Transportation Consultants, to go from Route 22 to the future I-78. I-78 was not completely planned at that point, didn't come out online until much later. But basically, 378 was supposed to go through South Bethlehem, either adjacent to or on top of, over where the Greenway is right now. That was the railroad tracks for much of its existence and serving on its bit. So what I wanted to show you was this, to give you some scope. This is a I know this photograph comes from between 1966 and 1975, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But this was the building that was owned by my parents in the Signage Stationery from 1966 until 1975. This was 4 stories, but as I mentioned, it was designed as a facility for windows and all kinds of things that were used for home construction and decoration. And right next to it were 2 adjacent buildings of similar height. On this corner, there was a bank building, and then there was another building of similar height. And the week my parents moved into this store at the end of December 1965, when I got all my classmates from Liberty High School, we were all seniors, and we came over and helped move them. See that ink there? That's that 4-story building, Lehigh Stationery Company Inc. These buildings were both vacant adjacent to it. That's Broad and Main down there. This was a vacant bank building. And this was I don't know what this building was. You can see this has shorter ceilings, but it's 5 stories. They burned down. This is approximately December 26th, 27th. My parents were madly making coffee for the firemen. It was a very strange time. But they burned down before redevelopment got them, and that was part of the whole process that what you now see on Main Street with all those housing for the elderly. These were the first buildings to go and were acquired for that whole set of buildings. So my point of all of this is that while this is not in an historic district, the dimensions of the building that would be directly on the opposite end of this building are not unfamiliar in terms of the built environment historic to Bethlehem. You'll see this is the sun end before its reconstruction. It was essentially a 5-story building on Main Street. And I was on the sun end board when this was all done. And I still, you had to show me the architectural drawing today. I couldn't tell you how they found the sun end underneath all that mess. But they did. And so this was a 5-story building as well. So in addition to the bank building up here at Broad and U, which was done in the 70s as part of the Clark and Rappahannock plan, which is 11 stories. And of course, all the housing for the elderly down here, which is a similar height. And then the Hotel Bethlehem, which is 9 stories. You have a history of having taller buildings. And naturally, you have Bethlehem City Hall, which we're sitting in, so you don't need an image. Bethlehem City Hall was actually done, was completed by 1967. It was not talking about the line, it was Gilman Farmer. And as we all know, there was a great deal of dispute about this building when it's constructed. It did not have to go before this board because this city was exempt from going through body. And the competing structure for this building was basically a knockoff of Philadelphia City Hall. It's a Renaissance style building.
So what I would suggest, unless you have, what we can do is run through a presentation to refresh, like following up on that. Let me.
Absolutely.
There you go. So that we can go through it, because we'll also show you the responses that we had to the earlier comments, just some materials, and we can run through that. Oh, that's great. So as Jeff was mentioning, the bridge is here, that building, that Crayon building was here. This is the highway, so the last house was here, and there were some houses here, but this was never occupied, and this is the site. We say that the site is between a rock and a hard place, the rock being the 70-foot escarpment here of very sharp drop, and a hard place being the highway sort of coming down and surrounding noise with trucks and so on. And as such, for residential purposes, the building is designed as a once 5-story building over this base. And it has a single loaded corridor so that the residences are looking over into, behind the trees over into the city. But this acts almost really as a sound buffer for it. So what you see here is this is heavily wooded. And the way that we describe the building is almost like building a ship in a bottle, that you have to sort of insert it right in there, as opposed to doing wholesale clearing, because the site is really very steep. But also part of the attractive is to see the view, but also to be in the middle of the fact that this is heavily forested. And there's an entry court. We'll see an image of the site, but if you sort of cut the section, you see there the building is sort of teeter-tottering on the cliff, and as the cliff comes down, the buildings rest more securely on it, but this is pretty much at the front end of the piece. And this is the entry level and the parking level. And then the site from here to there slopes down. So you see that this is the entry street here. And the site comes over and the garage starts sloping down with the contours to catch it up. But what happens is that at the ground level, the garage hovers over it so that deer or anything can go underneath it. But there are trees that are pretty high. And the tree line is pretty much about here, as you'll see in another drawing. And other than the base and the parking that's behind it, there are 4 levels of residential. This is a section of the way. So the building itself is this piece, is this, and this is the base. Go to the next one and tell me if I need to go faster or not. So this is the ground level. This is the entry court. There you'll see an image of it. The front door entry and the sort of lobby of the building, and then this entry into the parking area, which is the deck. Once you're down, you're in the parking zone here. But at that level, as the parking goes down, then there's another area that is a deck, that is an amenity deck. And then the building itself sits over that, which is this, and the building sort of bends with topography. And you see there's the elevator, the stair course, the hallways, and then the apartments. The next slide shows a view without the trees, so that you get a sense of how the topography is here. This is the street, and the topo sort of starts coming down like this. But the parking deck is here. This is the area where the parking on the cars are there. This is the amenity deck, sort of an amenity space. This is sort of void space. This is sort of the entry lobby, and then the apartments. And again, the trees are all over through the site. As you'll see, and the tree line is sort of here, so we're the very top, and we peer over that. Next slide. This is the side facing the highway, and you can see that these are brick, and they're the stair towers, and we'll see the boards of the materials. This is sort of fiber cement painted a muted color, brick tower, and then the garages and these sort of vertical elements, and tree trunks almost camouflages it. This is the end. This is the other end of the building. You see how the topo really comes down. Slide. So in doing the comments, we initially had envisioned a building that, while we thought it was from a site perspective very sensitive in terms of really minimizing the loss of trees and letting the building sort of perch on it, like again the ship in the bottle analogy. The comments really were saying, well, I think it's better to take the building and really take the cues on the materials and something that is more neutral. And you'll see the before and after iteration, but we sort of took inspiration from the stonework from the barns and from slate in these buildings. So these were kind of inspirational. And this is the front elevation of the building, and it's like a ship in a bottle. I also say it's like a fish, right? Because as the building slides into the trees under the bottom of the site, what you see from Broad Street is just really the narrow end of it. So you just see a portion of the building, and the width of it is reduced, and the building is long, but it actually sort of goes in there. So being between the trees, you really don't have a sense on Broad Street that the proportion of the building is actually smaller than the proportion of the building that your parents used to own. It's as high as 57 stories. Sorry, 57. Whoa, projects of 57 feet.
We know what you meant.
Yeah, and then the materials that you see here, what we're adding this image is we're envisioning this being slate, which are these samples here. And I don't know if I can get a little more light on this thing. The slide if somebody else will hold it, but you can see it. Slate, which is on this portion of the building. These are the stair towers, which are brick, kind of an iron spot brick. The base is a stone, and we show the images of the Moravian, to a stone supplier in the area. And he found this range, and it looks strange. And I said, that possibly can't be the range. And if you look at the photo, we go back to the Moravian building. It really is like some very dark stones, light stones. So there's really a pattern that is very natural. That would be the base of the stone here. Wood elements in the entrance areas, and it really is a palette that is very muted. So you'll see the before and after of kind of design that we have. So if you go to some of the views on the side view, one of the things that this is a computer trees where you'll see an actual photo, and you'll see that the trees are actually high. This is an actual photo that we took, and then we inserted the building behind it, but you see that the trees line is actually halfway up the building. We made it transparent a bit because, of course, in the winter we were transparent, but here you wouldn't see the building, but you see that the roof line is up here. And the tone of the buildings and the natural tone sort of, and the trees sort of blends in with the site. If we go back one, so what you see there is the view, again, nestled between the trees and the apartments. Next slide, that view down from the Moxie Creek area. This is from the apartments looking back at the city, and this is the buildings that Jeff was describing. Parking garage, we fantasize that it could be just simply painted green, and it will camouflage and blend in there instead of being white. And you see how the building is sort of bending and curving in with the topography. Next slide. This is the amenity deck looking down behind the mountainside, where you see how the tree line actually even obscures that, so people see the landscape. Next slide. This is from the end of the amenity deck. looking at the building. So again, the slate area, the apartments, the balconies, and these kind of wood finishes for the dividing of the balconies. Next slide. This is the view from the highway, and what it shows is through the trees, the material is the brick that is this one here, darker brick for the elevators, stair towers, sort of these vertical elements that are really part of the parking garage, and then the panels with some windows will bring in hallways. Next slide. So these are materials, that again, this is the Moravian stone that we took inspiration for. This, the natural slate that is used in many of the historic buildings here. Wood battens to bring a natural material. The fiber cement panel done in a pattern that is all kind of stone. The seam metal panel actually got replaced by the brick, so that's not there anymore. And the semi-reflective glass is really so that the glass is light, it doesn't look really dark. The next slide is just a photo of this board, the physical material. And then the few next slides are the before and afters of the previous design when we were looking at light kind of cast stone, and from the comments, really being able to take a floor out. So it's actually 5 floors, not 6 floors. So the towers came down as well. And then really replacing that for natural materials with the slate, the brick, the stone area, and the stone area here, these areas. The next slide shows another version of that. The earlier comments were that the building was too white and tall, and that they needed to camouflage and blend more, and be more of the natural materials. And I thought we liked it a lot, but now that we see it, we think that this is way better, And then this is a version. This is a computer image, so this is an actual photograph where we very carefully measured the heights and actually got a very accurate representation of that, what would look like from the valley sort of behind the trees. And see again that the building is blending more. Next slides. We thought it'd be good to put it into context. And again, the site that we're talking about is right here. In terms of the scale, we saw that there are other buildings that are just as long and almost the exact same kind of dimensions. The old Brazier factory, the newer Moravian building in the area here. We also see that there is really that hiatus of greenery and space, and also of the highway. So it's really not like it's in the middle of these areas, that there really isn't that hiatus in between. And that because we're inserting it in the trees, the context really is the context of the nature around it, and really being able to relate to that in the views. We have some views up close of that building, which is the Brazier factory building that is right behind the Moravian buildings behind these trees. And sorry, I'm losing my voice here. But this is looking down Conestoga Road at the building, which is very long, at the edge, and that even if you look over it, and that window is this window, you see that that building is immediately right adjacent to the Moravian buildings. And then you see again there the hotel, which is really a very different scale. And if you're over across the bridge that Jeff was mentioning, this is one of the Moravian buildings that I took the photo of that we were using for the inspiration for the stone. This is that long building that was the old Brazier factory. And if we turn around exactly from where we're standing and look the other way, it's the next slide, which is looking down Conestoga Creek. And the building is sitting right here about 2,000 feet back and 70 feet up, and really inserted between the trees, but only maybe the top of it sort of visible. So it's really much less impactful than, say, any of the other two very long buildings. Moravian, I think it's called Hill House, or the Brazier factory. I think that may be the last slide. Yeah, that building is the other building we're mentioning. And that's it. I mean, I didn't go the other slides. So maybe I'll hold this too. You can see these up closer. I'll pass them around.
Are you saying that this is going to be about the same length as Conestoga Court?
It's a little, it's 400 and
sizes.
Yeah.
Is this
Is it?
iridescent?
Okay.
Is this below the?
it has like a metal sheen, so it's like an iron spot.
So
that-
for me, throughout the day,
Yeah, but it does, but very slightly, but it has kind of like a certain metallic, because higher iron spot texture. This is the stone, this is the mullions, and the glass. the mullions at the lower level, and the panels dividing the apartment balconies. And then this is the slate that is used here vertically. And they'll just go around with the stones a little heavy.
Yeah, yeah.
Hope the blue holes, but just Elmer's glue there.
Uh-oh.
No way.
Let's see here.
And what's dividing the balconies? This,
Sorry. The balcony has panels. If we go back to just those panels that you see
Yeah.
vertical,
Mhm.
between dividing the balconies that are between the apartments are these kind of wood panels, vertical, which is that material. And the rest of the mullions are dark color because the dark color is what camouflages behind the trees. You know? So we believe that it's going to be what you see are natural materials or just materials that are very self-effacing or very high quality, like in the frontage. That's my first so it's been a long process because I think we've been doing this spray for almost 5 years when we started doing it. In the beginning, we were looking at really minimizing the impact on the site. You know, it's a very challenging site, and off the bat, the client group was really on board with the idea of maintaining as many of the trees as possible. Working with their contractor, we looked away that the analogy of the ship in the bottle of slightly just inserting the building in there and building it from the street in and letting it hover on the ground. And I think that a lot of the comments that came forward after we really like the modernity of it, but I myself have been sitting in the historical board as a commissioner of the Philadelphia Historic Board. We do a lot of historic architecture as well, you know, and we think that in the end, we really like the version that really blended more, had more natural materials. And I think that was a comment that we took to heart from the last cycle. I'm not sure if any of you have been before from the board. Before
I think some of the members were
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
yeah.
I wasn't, but
No.
no, I was
I
not.
was.
But, you know, some time has passed by, but I think the continuity of the comments from the neighbors and the city and your predecessors on the board have been really helpful. If you have any other questions?
Questions, comments, feedback?
Feedback, I thank you for hearing us, because I think this, the colors and the textures do work so much. It's something.
Yeah, we think so. It took a while to find the materials, but yeah, we're really happy with. We think it'll really be a credit to the area.
Yeah, I wasn't here for the initial, but I really like the changes that you've made. Like it a lot.
So did you say, obviously you made it lighter in color to camouflage it in more, but did you say you also made it thinner?
It lost a floor, so it
Okay.
had 6 floors, so now the building is just one entire floor lower.
Okay. How about the width? Did the width remain the same
The
essentially?
width remains the same,
Okay.
essentially. You know, it's actually a very narrow building to begin with, because most residential buildings are double-sided, and here, again,
It's really
because
only
of the site, but
single-sided.
mostly because of the challenge of the highway noise. The client, and we brought on board a sound consultant, because if you're there, sometimes a semi comes in there and they downshift, and you're, you know, so we did a lot of work in doing sound testing and using that other side of the building to be really the sound buffer between it.
So there won't be any windows or anything on the back side?
There are actually, if we go back, that area does have windows.
Very few. It's
There
in the
was a comment
circulation.
that we took in from from the board, but also we wanted to make that corridor pleasant. And as you see there, those vertical slits are
Yeah.
windows that bring light into the corridor
The hallways.
and not create a blank wall. And they're vertical because the tree trunks are vertical, so we think that this whole kind of vertical lines that we're using on the parking garage and on the stair towers and everything help to do this kind of blending thing that, you know, if you didn't know the building was there and you're barreling down the road there, you would do a double take it around and notice.
So what are the neighbors on the other side of this side of the building going to see?
They're gonna see the trees mostly in the winter, and in the summer, what they see is what you see there. They'll see the trunks, and then they'll see the vertical elements of the garage,
Oh.
and they will see the stair towers and,
Okay, but this is the side that's facing 378.
yeah.
Okay,
But-
the
but-
other side.
With the side that's on there is 378, there's an embankment and there are trees, and then there's 378, and then the embankment comes up and there are more trees. And then this is side, and what you see in this representation is, in dark, you see the outline of the topography, which is this line here. And then the tree line, and then behind the building, and what you see here is the stair tower and the brick area, the stair tower here. And then the windows are the vertical windows, and this is sort of the facade of in there.
What's that facade made of in that
Yeah,
area?
it's fiber cement panels, painted neutral colors, so it's these panels here,
Okay.
down there.
So I thought it was a seam metal panel, but you said you eliminated
Yeah.
that, right?
That was eliminated, that's a mistake, right?
Okay,
That
all
was
right.
eliminated for the brick that you see here. So when you see the stair towers, this one,
Mm-hmm.
those vertical lines are there now as reveals in the brick. But before it was metal seam, metal panel. And again,
Okay.
that was also another comment from the board of saying like, look, let's try to eliminate all of the materials that are not more natural materials. You know?
So you're going to have limited windows on 378, and and that's all hallways on the 378
Yeah.
side. So you're not going to be dealing with as much, you're going to have some sound insulation for the people that are living in the units based upon the walls that are there and the hallways.
Yeah.
Windows will have.
Yeah, and you see there is, there are windows there, if you can see, these kind of light lips in there, but these are the stair towers, so this is a corridor. If you're parked down there, you can take that elevator and arrive at your apartment, you know, so the elevator's closer where the parking decks are. But it's a hallway that, very few people, unless you're visiting your neighbor here, are gonna be traversing that. But the hallway has natural light in it. Actually look out and see the trees, you see the highway, you see the houses on the other side, you know, trees. And again, all of this more solid area and the construction of this is buffering the highway acoustics. You know, we did extensive testing
Yeah.
for that, with actual monitors.
Yeah, I had a
Done, like,
question about
3
that.
years ago.
I had a question about that, if I may. Of course, I want to preface also with great things. I saw the original proposal, and it's kind of crazy that it's been 5 years that's been going on, and it's successful on many levels, from material selections that we commented, but also the scaling and the form, the facade treatment. To your comment on the acoustics, are you referring to the acoustics to the kind of the tenants or the owners of the apartments, or did you do studies for the residents on First Avenue, for instance, because it's a hard
Yeah.
edge that will reverberate, right? So there is.
I think the overall acoustic, in one of my prior lives, and I have a number of lives, I was a transit engineer and studied a lot the sound of travels and so on. So that is not a concern, because what you'll see there is that the highway is sort of cut on an embankment, and
goes up.
and basically anything that hits that edge gets bounced
Mhm.
perpendicular to the, you know, there's like a whole physics of how the sound travels. So it's not going to affect the neighbors or anything.
That's great.
But we wanted to make sure that the utter peace and beautiful views that this apartment has, you know, because the views are really incredible. You're looking again at the mountaintop and all of that it would just be very serene.
Yeah. And tacking on to this comment, again, kind of channeling the devil's advocate, have you heard from those 12 or so households on First Avenue? Because, the building will essentially kind of create a new horizon line for them, possibly obscuring view of the Moravian Church and of Hotel B and other beloved landscapes.
They've commented, but If you give me a moment and I can pull it up, 'cause
Uh-huh.
I have a gazillion photos here. I've taken photos in winter time through all these years, summertime and everything, and all you really see when you're there on that street are the very tops of the steeples, which will still be seen.
Yeah.
And the top of, say, the Bethlehem Hotel or some of the taller buildings.
Yeah.
Because if you look at, maybe one of the sections shows it, that the building does not occupy the whole site here. So the rest of the site continues here. So at this point, the tree line is here. So what I'm saying is that the angles and the views are not
Yeah.
impacted. You know, they're not
I just wanted
Other
to
views
like
of the
make
mountains.
sure that these voices have been
Yeah.
heard and questions have been addressed. I have no
Yeah.
kind of personal perspective on that, short of going there.
I walked around this site from every angle. I probably got double my steps in today. But I do think that from Broad Street on First Avenue, if you're heading in the wrong direction on it, the trees are higher, closer to Broad Street, and as the site drops down, they do get lower. But I think what he's saying is
Yeah.
this activity area
The amenity deck.
that also drops down. So I don't think, it's not like the residents of First Avenue right now have this beautiful view of the valley and any of the Moravian building. I mean, they can't even see the parking garage, thankfully. What they see is above tree line now. So, I mean, they definitely will see this building above that tree line, but at least the top couple
The
stories.
parking garage is my personal pet peeve because all it would take is a dark green color and the thing will disappear.
Mhm.
And so I'm hoping someday that we'll listen to. But to your point and his point, what you see here is an actual photo. So all that has been photoshopped here is inserting this here, the end of the deck here. So you can't see any of the structures behind it,
Right.
vice versa.
So they can't see backward. Yeah. Right. Great.
And I mean, I try to take notice too. I think on the valley side of the existing structure that's there now, I mean, those trees are a good they're taller than the house, which is 2.5, 3 stories to the top of the roof. So if this really gets inserted there, like it's said, the ship in the bottle, I mean, I think those trees will block the first few stories anyway from both sides.
And it's really not necessarily a consequential question, but I'm more of a curiosity. A building of this site would require quite a bit of mechanical systems. Where are the chillers and the condenser units? And
There's a
Are they on
lot of
top?
space in the interspace between the
usually these
The-
things
the
you
parking
always see on top of
Parapets,
buildings.
yeah,
If you look
parapets.
at, see here, this is the entry lobby and it stops there. And then the garage comes here and starts sloping down here. And this is the floor of the apartments. And this is actually the amenity room that opens into the deck. But this entire interstitial area in there is an area where all of these equipments and materials
So
are
it's hidden.
in there.
Oh,
And
you're
they're
hiding.
over the garage, but they're open doors, so all of the using of air and everything is
Fantastic.
there.
Yeah.
So, because the whole thing is, again, like perched,
Yeah.
on the side, so it's.
It's kind of upside down instead of
Yeah.
on the roof.
Yeah.
Feeding
Oh,
from the
it's
top,
fantastic.
it's coming
you
from
know,
below.
I'm not, there are going to, as you see here, some protrusions for the elevator overrun and for the hatches to the stair and so on. And there's gonna be some elements in there, but they're not.
Well, that's a flat elevation. You're probably not going to see them from this side, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they don't.
And that's exactly, you're also down below. So-
Right.
So in a lot of the buildings, they get placed in the corridors and out of the views of that, for the view angles. So,
Is there a parapet around the top of this building, or is it just?
It's as flat as can be because we just want to keep the height to a minimum. If you see the section here, there's no parapet. No.
Okay. How can you go back a couple pictures? You showed the
Where to
with the hallway.
there?
Yeah. How long is that hallway?
Well, the building is end to end is 400 and some feet.
Okay.
So the hallway is there, but if you think about it, each of these is 30. So if you park your car And you come in there, you know, you're parking close to it. You're always closer to the apartment.
Okay.
Coming in here. So it's not, and it's not unlike hallways in,
Oh, no, I'm just curious because
Egress.
yeah, I'm thinking egress reasons and stuff
Oh,
like
yeah,
that, but
right.
we're not
It's
there
the
yet.
code. So
Yeah.
this is all
Yeah.
to building code right now.
Right.
In terms of the travel distance.
Yeah.
Sorry, how long did you say the building was? 430, was it? I mean, roughly.
The dimensions are there, but it's like 430 or something.
Yeah,
between
close enough.
end to end there in the plan. But this is to the end of the garage, right?
Right.
Because the building is shorter than the.
Right, and the
Yeah.
hallway isn't as long as the
Right.
building.
Do you imagine any kind of site lighting or building exterior lighting that will
Dark
Create
sky, you're in there.
no
in the
light
trees,
pollution.
you see the moonlight. I think that, there's the light on the apartments and so on, but we're not lighting the building.
Love that,
or-
yeah.
or, you know,
I'm glad to hear.
Security lighting, stuff like that, but nothing like illuminating the building itself.
Yeah.
Just said that.
But again, because the building is hovering over the trees, the lighting will be constrained to the deck.
Right.
Once you're in or in the parking garage and they're cut off lights and so on, but once you're in there, the reality is somebody could take a hike down below.
Yeah. Well, that's where I was going with that. Is there a possibility for the ground plane, the underside of the building, to be publicly accessible? Is that
There is a stair. Let me go to the side. There is a stair, an old stair that exists in there that is not being. You see here on the creek, there's an old stair.
Yeah, I saw that.
Where is it?
It's right there.
And yeah, there, sort of there. And there's a retaining wall. And this is some old kind of ruins that are left untouched among the trees.
That was that double house.
Yeah.
They're
Okay.
going back to the-
And actually, I fantasize that, if there's a stair that can access the lower level, so you see it here.
Mhm.
That if you want to walk your dog and go in there and hang in there, then maybe that's actually a nice amenity area.
So would that
Have
be-
in there.
How about
That's
people
general
coming
public.
up?
No, because it's enclosed, right? So this
Oh,
is the
okay,
door here.
okay.
So it's totally safe, right?
Okay.
Nobody can, unless they get some repelling equipment.
But it's accessible by residents, but not the general public.
Correct. Yeah, because also this whole area is up on the retaining wall, if you recall the site. And it's just super dense and very steep.
Antonio, do you have a view from the entrance from Broad Street, looking that direction?
It's,
Jeff, the houses that you're talking about, were they the gray twins down there?
yeah, so what you see here,
But there are only two twins that were on Conestoga.
Yeah, that's it.
I sold one of those.
No, I just wanted to make sure that this was what we're going to see,
yeah.
pretty much
So-
from,
So where's
Yeah.
Broad Street?
from
in
Broad.
relation?
You-
So Broad Street is here.
Okay.
Okay,
This is the garage, the bridge, balustrade. that
Okay.
ends literally right there.
okay,
And then we pick it up there and follow it up with the new stone wall, with this stone that we're talking about. And this is that same stone. It's a little dark in this drawing. And that stone here to create it. And then there's a kind of courtyard here so that a car comes in there and drops you off. They can drop people off and then come over like that or come out. And then this here, this dark area is the entrance into the garage. Put the car and signalize that. And the entrance to the garage is there, where there's a sort of gracious entry court there with a stone wall, so the stone wall sort of sits in here and then the building sort of perches on it. And then what you see here is once you enter there, this is sort of like the lobby area and an overlooking the mailroom and so on is there. And then this is the stair towers, the elevator towers to go to the apartments.
Is that cement board or is that windows?
Hmm?
Are the cement board or windows on the corner?
No, this is our old windows. So
Okay.
this actually here, we're looking at a material that is more solid, maybe like polished stone or something. But
Okay.
here is glass, but also we're playing on the scale of it. So this is actually 2 apartments, but in order to also modify the scale of the building, we're playing a trick on proportions so that actually the building is narrower and looks smaller than it is.
Okay.
But it also follows the sense of some of these other older buildings that are stone barns that have big openings.
And is that
And they're
glass
examples
there?
on-
Is that the glass that's that glass is that
Yeah,
glass?
it's like that. The thing with the glass is it's really slightly reflective. Because one of the pet peeves is that sometimes people represent these very nice surfaces and then the glass can be like really dark, like then, soul sucking dark, So it has like a really slight tint, so it always looks like the reflection from the sun. It's not really reflective, it's just like a very slight tint.
So there are two apartments there.
Yeah, so
Top one above the other.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so then on that glass area, window coverings, we're going to see what from the outside?
Well, if they have the windows open, you might get a sense of seeing something in there because, when you have glass and the inside is always darker, you really can't just see in there. At night, you could see some light coming out. But this is sort of the living room and the area, but obviously they will also have window coverings and things in there. And this is solid, so we wanted to have a more residential scale thing, but we also wanted to have like a figure that looked almost like a big barn door opening or something. Because I think the scale of it was important. A lot of the buildings there have this kind of, they look like a block. They have a certain solidity to them and presence, that is different. So I think that once you turn the corner and you see the apartments, then you see that it's an apartment building and there's several floors, but there's something of the scale of that downplays its height. Plus the fact that we knocked the whole story out too.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, even though they're obviously all different style buildings, the existing buildings on Broad Street, the percentage of solid wall to opening is much higher.
Yeah.
So your solid wall to opening is much higher here.
Yeah, and actually that's, you cut that, because one of the things that we're inspired by is if you look at the Moravian buildings, where there's you see there the percentage of surface to the window,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what makes it look so like grounded, because it has that solidity. And then where you go out there, you're behind the trees and you're looking at the city, there's more glass, but we didn't want that whole glassiness hit you in the front. We wanted to have that sense of, like, people can't mistake it as a historic building, but it has that sense, that sense of stability. And, we took that from, again, looking at this.
So we will probably put some kind of identification on the building, not just this one area.
Well, the postman is.
Well, I'm assuming any signage will have to be approved anyway. So that's a future thing. So,
So I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we do have a 45-minute limit and there are people waiting. So
The buzzer is simmering. Okay.
yeah, we're going
we were generous with that.
I have
Okay.
one other question. How many parking places are in the garage?
If I recall, 65, I believe.
I think it's
68.
okay. So, I guess in immortal words of George.
Well, yeah, more words.
You'll be back?
Number, how many? 68 parking
So that
spaces?
we can accurately, I have an idea of what, I'm glad you're going to hear the world here, which presentation, that's great.
Mhm.
But are there any other issues that you think we need to work on or to be prepared for? It took 8 years to do steel stacks, and I'm already on year 5 on this. So much different. So, I'd like to get going on this probably. So, are there any issues right now? that you
Anybody
think
have
that you'd like
other
to-
questions that we haven't?
By the way, Jeff was our client when we did the Levitt and the Hoover Mason Trestle, and he's been harder on us on this than he did on those 2 projects. So, and has been Dennis, but they're definitely looking to move a real quality thing. That'd be a great credit to the city. We're excited about that.
Yeah. No, I
Any
didn't-
guidance or input for the next step?
No, but I didn't see I wasn't here for the first time, for first couple goes arounds, but this is definitely, if one of the recommendations as I was reading through the minutes was more natural materials. He definitely nailed that with because it looks, in the earlier pictures, when you had the comparison, it almost looks like this building was glowing. You know what I mean? With the lights, and it looked white. I don't know if that was white or an off-white color on the.
That's what people were saying.
It looked glowing, and I was like, "Wow, that's a bright building."
Until after the next
So,
meeting.
I do appreciate that. I do appreciate that. Yeah.
So
We'll share with you that we've lived on Church Street for 45 years, and you can't beat the noise on Church Street with 378. Because between Linden, and I've said this to every mayor for the last 25 years, between Linden and Center, they do their best to get up to 50 miles an hour.
I'm not far from you.
It seems everybody who has a bad carburetor delivers it.
Yes, they do.
We fight this side a lot, but it's.
and they're right up against your house too.
I want
Tell that to the realtor who sells the house.
Yeah.
That's I want to live here.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion that we just table this until we hear from the Heritage Site or the
World Heritage Site presentation.
World Heritage Site. And then we can continue our conversation.
Museum.
Second by Nick. Okay. Motion has been made by Connie, seconded by Nick. Rod,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
Fred's on here. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Are you 455 High Street? Oh, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Sorry
being so
you were
patient.
fourth. And I bet you are too. Sometimes you just draw the short straw.
All right, next week already? All right.
Okay, your name, sir.
John Newman. Okay.
John.
Yeah, we have a.
I'll send it to you.
It's spelled Neumann.
How many people
Yep,
are here?
Got it. All right.
Two.
Item number 4. The applicant owner of the property located at 455 High Street proposes to replace the existing roof with GAF slate line shingles. And I need to clarify this, antique slate color?
Antique slate,
Okay, all right. Basically, period. A couple things we wanted to just clarify. It's the antique slate color, and then we'll get into this, but we'll ask you what you're doing with drip edges and flashings and so on. Character defining features: 2.5-story Italianate home has a low sloped roof pierced by an ornate brick chimney and capped with an ornate cupola. The widely overhanging eaves are supported by decorative brackets. The smooth brick facade is decorated with tall first floor windows, double doors with glass panels, brick string courses, rusticated coins at the corners, heavy window heads and sills, hood moldings over the first floor windows, and first floor porches with ornate cornices, columns, balustrades, and roof balustrades. Beautiful house. And the gutters are half round and the downspouts are round. So if I might as well just dive into it. I mean, a couple of the typical questions is aluminum drip edges and edge things to match the color of the adjacent trim. Okay. And chimney flashings, roof flashings, copper, if they're replaced. Okay. Flashing. That's pretty much all I have.
Straightforward.
The good news is you're the 1,545,632nd applicant for this type of thing. So I'm good if you all are.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, unfortunately, it's as easy as that. So, but we have to go through this formality. So, I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
Second.
That was Joe?
Yes.
Okay, motion been made by Mike, seconded by Joe. Connie?
Aye.
Rod?
Aye.
And Nick?
Aye.
All right. Thank you.
Now you may have
Yeah.
dinner.
Next time, get your application in one day earlier.
I wasn't anticipating replacing this roof, but I had the guy cleaning the gutters, and he said, your roof's pretty bad. Anyway, thank you, Carmen.
Don't they have to replace ice shield and stuff like that when they do that? They do? So there are many ways that that can happen, and are we just assuming that they'll go to standard?
We inspect them when they do the
Oh,
building.
that's not our purview then.
Yeah,
That's a
that's
building.
that's
Yeah,
what-
got it. Including the bends
So,
and all
so
that
yeah,
stuff.
so like, so we just approve.
Did you?
Form.
And then it comes.
I may
Got
fix
it,
it.
our guys out.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to make sure somebody,
Yeah.
because many don't do it,
know.
which is the problem.
You know.
Where are we? Number 5?
Yep.
Do we need to turn the lights out when you light that up?
Yeah, we can turn all the lights. Oh, it even says sample. Look at that.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, we're ready when you are.
All right. I'll plug it in. So that's 2,700 lumens or 2,700 K,
Mhm.
and then just opaque vinyl on the face of it. We're probably gonna paint it. We'll do our actual fabrication. I'll just throw that together just to give you a rough idea. Is that the thickness of it, or is that just like the sample size thickness? Sample size thickness.
Thick-
Would it be thicker? Go either way, thicker or thinner.
The thickness shown in the application was 6 inches.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're talking about the actual.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
The
this is
actual
the same.
sign, right?
This is, I believe it's 5-inch extrusion. I have tape on.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's like 5-inch extrusion.
Yeah, there we
Show
go.
us
The
that.
sample double-sided as the design, as the
No.
proposed design.
It's just
This
like-
is just one side.
was the sample double sided?
The
Proposal
the
is.
proposal.
Proposal is,
The proposal's double-sided.
Seriously, turn the lights out.
Back here.
They're behind you.
let's do that.
Is there a sunshine law against it?
Yeah, nice. The microphones are still on, so.
Oh, boy.
It doesn't help much.
Still
that
light out.
Still let out, yeah. You kind of see through that vinyl. We're going to paint it so that you can't kind of say you kind of see through it. You kind of see like the color going. We're going to paint it so it's opaque.
Now, am I looking at the fast signs or the sample?
Fast signs.
The
Yeah,
fence side.
just white acrylic, yeah.
Yeah, well, it kind of looks like it's got like a little halo effect
Right.
around it, so that's why I was
That's
kind of
fun.
wondering.
That's from top.
Yeah.
And then I printed out, I don't know what else you guys need from me. I printed out pictures of that sign at night, the one that I was telling you guys about. That we were making this after. Now this is all translucent vinyl, so it does glow blue at night. So you do see the colors and the yellow of the logo. So that is a sign. And it's just how we're kind of like mimicking this after the customer saw the sign and ordered it.
The size of the letters, how do they relate to what's proposed?
That's a good question. The size proposed is not marked on here. They're roughly 9 inches.
Twice.
So they're going to be twice that size. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. A lot thinner stroke in most of the places there too. Some of it would be different. Definitely smaller in the marketing and media spot.
Can I chime in on some of the lighting?
Sure.
Okay. I did some research on walk-up ATM lighting.
Yeah.
And there were guidelines for it. And I'm just going to read some of them just quickly. They recommend illuminance levels and uniformity ratios estimated by the Illumination Engineering Society of North America. That's where this came from. All lighting should be designed to minimize light pollution and light trespass beyond the property lines. I highlighted just the important things that are appropriate to us. So this one item, the designer is encouraged to provide additional site lighting around canopy area in order to maximize safety and security for users of ATMs. So when you understand the ATM lighting situation, I believe that it may not be apropos for a building sign. That this is specific, the ATM, that you just passed out the paper.
Yeah,
It's specific to safety,
sure,
not just for lighting.
sure. You have that lighting that's under here that is lighting it up.
Right.
And I don't think I think what you're talking about is the lighting that's underneath it, not the lighting from the sign.
No, the whole unit
Sure.
is what they're referencing.
And I drove out to
Oh,
West End and looked
Yeah.
at the Univest that's out there, and they have the exact same ATM, night deposit, and signage that is on that property there.
Sure.
I did not drive down to Milford Square to see what they have, but there's two facilities in the valley, and they're both the same.
Gotcha.
So I guess the comment that you made the last time about it setting precedents, I don't know that we can
Sure, it's
actually.
an ATM, I understand.
Right.
I mean, at this point, it's basically the customer wants to do it illuminated. So if that type of thing is going to be allowed, or if there's more questions or whatever, that's fine. I do have a second proposal, typical lighting for historic district that I'll put through if this is denied, but it's up to you guys.
Can I ask a clarification question? And that's probably more to everyone. Are there other protruding illuminated signs on Main Street?
Not
No.
on that, no.
No.
There's,
How do you mean protruding illuminated?
Well,
signs that stick out
Stick
of
out
the
and then have the
facade.
goosenecks
I
on
don't-
them?
Yeah.
Yes.
That are illuminated.
There are a few.
That's the only one.
Oh,
That's
they're
how
being
There are-
They're
illuminated.
being
They're
illuminated.
They're being
not
illuminated. They're not
illuminated.
self-illuminated.
Correct.
Light
That's the
emitting.
only sign
Light
that I've
emitting.
seen.
Light emitting.
That's the only sign.
I
That's
don't
why
like
I
that
brought
at
it up.
all.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're looking at the Univest light emitting sign and this one, with the caveat that this is unique to Main Street in its installation, size, and
That's
function.
backlit.
It is
It is.
completely.
Size, not so much, but
like
installation and
that. I don't
function,
like
yes. It's about the correct size, the 36 by 19. But I mean,
personally, I think the whole scale of the sign, again, I said this last time, most of these blade signs are an inch and a half, 2 inches wide. This is 6 inches wide. So this is going to be a whole different
To me,
scale.
I quite like the sign. It's not a question about the design of it. To me, it's a question of character and precedent. Character deals, with what's currently there, and precedent deals with, do we want to see more of?
You were just showing us something that the Hotel Bethlehem has a rear lit illuminated sign.
Yeah, and I don't know that we,
Oh, that's on the canopy.
Yeah,
Right outside.
I don't know that we approved that. And I don't think we want that all up and down.
I think that was that
Main
an
Street.
existing movie theater sign.
But maybe.
Could be
I don't-
something that was grandfathered in. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, you think?
I think that was an
Okay.
existing movie theater, that Grandpa Joe's candy place, and
Okay.
they just changed the lens.
So we didn't have
So
anything
we
to do
didn't
with
have
that.
we didn't have any say in that.
Got it.
I mean, I don't have a problem with the depth width of the sign. I mean, and I think it looks a lot nicer than the goosenecks myself. That's just my own opinion. And I think it's not going to be, I mean, I'd wonder what the light output is of those gooseneck signs when you would meter them at night, and what the output would be of this when you meter it. Maybe what you'd need to do is to have them have the effect, if there's too bright compared to the gooseneck signs, to even bring down the LEDs more, and you'd still have the right effect, but not get the concern that people have of that we are ending up with Main Street becoming the strip in Las Vegas with a bunch of lit signs.
Right.
And then so that you'd be monitoring them based upon what is the output that you're having on those signs.
Well, we need to rewrite the guidelines then, because
Yeah.
that's not
Oh, it
what
doesn't
they
say, it says discourages, doesn't say prohibit.
But you're suggesting a new benchmark that should be maintained and supervised or enforced.
Personally, I think it's a nice sign, but I don't want to veer too far away from the goosenecks at this point. Like, I mean,
Did what?
I don't want to veer too far off from the goosenecks at this point. I think we have a precedent there, you know, with the UNESCO stuff coming up and Main Street being so historic. I don't think now would be the time to introduce backlit lighting.
I think that's a good point.
That's a good point.
So
I agree.
I mean, I agree with the sentiment, just not with the argument in the sense that it's a hypothetical, right? It's a hypothesis that signs like that are going to be in conflict with forthcoming criteria.
Sure.
I do agree with the sentiment that it is, you know, if the question is, does it fall within the character or is it out of character with what's currently there? I think it is out of character. And personally, for me, it is the discussion only is like, well, are we due for an update or not? And an update would be if we're seeing more and more and more of those.
true.
Application that we have to respond to. But at this point, I feel like from my corner, it is not within the fabric and the character of Main Street.
At this point,
Yeah, at this point, I agree.
but we don't know what's going to happen, so I totally agree. So do you want to make a motion?
The motion is to, I've never done this before, to not approve,
Deny.
to deny the application for a light emitting halo sign,
Probably want to say internally.
internally lit sign as described by the application documents.
I will second that.
You have the other.
Yeah, I got another one.
One second,
Just hit
one
me.
second, not too quick. I got to keep up here. Who seconded that?
I did.
Rod. All right, motion has been made and seconded to deny the application of an internally lit LED sign. And with the guidelines that have been cited, we didn't get a chance to do that, but the Bethlehem Historic District guidelines on signage read in part, the Harb discourages new billboards, internally illuminated box signs, LED reader boards, flashing or changeable message signs, and neon signs. Okay. Connie,
Aye.
Rod made the second. Joe,
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
Okay. Motion to deny carries unanimously. Okay.
Okay, do we want the lights
Yeah,
back up?
we can turn the lights back on.
I'm going to go to sleep here soon. I don't have
The one I gave review the one I sent to you.
Oh, no.
I go through on that. I have to pick out you because this is kind of like sample. That's what I think.
Okay, we're ready.
Yeah, so just the same exact sign, just not eliminated. And thinner.
Same bracket.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Same bracket meaning same existing bracket?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any lighting planned for it? Is it the lighting
Yeah, we
you're
can
showing
do
on here?
overhead goosenecks like you're suggesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's two fixtures shown on that are more kind of can type lights.
Yeah, that's just the stock picture you have for those can lights. We can put whatever gooseneck light you recommend on that.
Oh, can I see your picture again?
Gonna-
They added the colors too. I know you're asking about the colors.
The top, sir,
Yeah.
the top image here shows a section of sort of attaching of the bracket plate, the bracket plate against the masonry.
Yeah.
It's straight into the bricks, not
It's
into
wood,
the,
yeah.
which part is wood?
The building is actually wood in that area. It's not brick. Where it's being fastened.
Oh, that's so like like the molding is there, like
Yes.
this.
That's what the existing one is.
Okay. But you're not touching this because that already exists there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we-
And there is a wire somehow hanging.
It's already in there, yeah.
Um, and the attachment of the lights and everything will be up to like an electrical code.
Yep.
It's all UL listed. Yeah.
Yeah. Where would you attach the lights?
To the actual bracket. We can attach them to the actual bracket. We can attach them.
And just gooseneck them out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just still gooseneck out, yeah.
But it's going to be a proper gooseneck fixture, not a gooseneck bracket.
That's the only sketch I have for that.
Yeah.
For that light.
Right. I mean, it's not going to be a can light on it.
No, I can do.
I mean, just-
goosenecked out. Yeah.
Just making sure.
No,
making sure. I mean,
goosenecked out.
sometimes you can't be too specific. so.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So
I
that
have no
gooseneck's
questions.
going to impose upon knobs and knockers next door. Right?
It might a little bit.
Onto their,
Yeah, it's a pretty shallow gooseneck. It doesn't. It's not like a building that goes
Okay.
way out.
all right,
Oh, okay.
okay. That's what I was going to say. You know, if you shorten that neck a little
The
bit.
sign's not that big, so you don't need these. We've done them, in other areas where they're real obtrusive and they go out because the sign's so big to go back down on the sign, but the sign's only, 19 inches tall. So.
Yeah.
And it's one light on each side, one gooseneck light on each side. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the sign submitted with gooseneck lighting, but under the condition that a final image is brought to us just for sign off at the time of permit
Of the
application.
gooseneck?
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
of the goosenecks, just so we could have something when you submit for your permit. Just
Sure. Yeah,
submit.
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, submit.
And the designer is the one who keeps adding the masonry thing. I told him.
You tell him to take it off.
It's not masonry. But
Even if it was masonry, tell them to take it off
Yeah.
because it's not in the
You
grout.
guys are the only ones that worry about that. You send that to the engineering.
Please
like,
don't
fine,
drill
doesn't
into
matter.
brick, please.
So, Mike,
Yes.
if he's going to go submit the plan and he can't get the gooseneck light onto this image, can he just submit a image of the gooseneck from whatever catalog he's using?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that just
Yeah.
that
And then
we
I'll
make-
just, and what I'll do then we'll say it approval by the building inspector and the historic officer. So then I'll send it to Jeff or Joe and for both of us to sign off.
Okay.
So if I understand the motion, approved as submitted with gooseneck fixtures, final rendering for image from a catalog to be submitted for approval at time of permit application.
Correct.
By code official and historic officer.
Yep.
Thank you for the extra work.
Not noise.
Yeah,
Driving
thank you.
around with his signs.
We tried.
I appreciate it.
All right, motion has been made by Mike. Is there a second? Was there a
I'll
second? Connie seconds it. All right. Rod,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Aye.
beat me to it.
Only one left.
Motion carries unanimously.
All
Thank
right. Thanks.
Yeah,
man.
thank
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry you had to wait so long. All right. Now you got to go on the other side. Got to be official.
I think we have to have a motion to table this last one because it's after 7
Motion to
o'clock.
deny.
Yeah, it's after 7 o'clock.
Make a motion to deny.
Can't,
Unless he's buying
He didn't,
dinner.
he didn't get
play
here. He didn't get
favorites.
here in time.
all right.
We're hard.
The applicant, owner of the property located at 130 East Wall Street, proposes to replace gutters and shutters with a similar material, as well as repaint the siding, window trim, and door trim. The existing K gutters will be replaced with half-round gutters that are painted black to match the shutters. Round downspouts will be installed at the ends of the gutters. All existing shutters will be replaced with new shutters constructed of solid pine and painted black, Sherwin-Williams SW6258 tricorn black, which is the color we all are familiar with, to match the size and style of the existing shutters. The existing hinges, slide bolts, and ring pulls will be restored and reused. The existing aluminum siding will be power washed, treated with TSP, and painted Sherwin-Williams SW7005 pure white, intended to match the existing color to the greatest extent possible in an eggshell finish. The window and door trim will be painted the same color but in a satin finish. Front door will not be repainted. The existing storm windows will be removed to accommodate the painting of the window trim and will be cleaned and reinstalled. Character defining features: 3-bay 2-story home has cross-gabled roof with a chimney on the left end. Enclosed porches flank the left and right ends on the first floor. Symmetrical aluminum sided facade is organized around a central entrance door with side lights. It's located under a curved porch roof supported by simply detailed square columns and pilasters. Second floor double hung windows with heavy head moldings are 6/6 light. First floor double hung windows with heavy trim topped by a hood are 8/8 light. All windows are fitted with operable paneled shutters. The existing gutters are of the K type with rectangular downspouts. And guideline citations, Secretary of Interior Standards 9 and 10, which we repeat often, Bethlehem Historic District Guidelines, shutters and blinds. The Harb encourages operable shutters with a smooth paintable finish. Shutters and operable shutter hardware, including hinges, hasps, and dogs of the appropriate style for the building location. Appropriately sized and shaped shutters for the window opening fitted to cover the window when closed.
Complying.
No questions, anyone?
Just the colors.
Yep.
Anyone else need to see the colors?
There.
Oh,
So kind of get us
all
on.
right. Oh, my. I'm too sorry to take your. What's the star mean? They're just, maybe they're the ones you
Actually, you can lay it
selected.
over another
Oh,
there,
oh,
and then you see the contrast.
Thank you.
Is that what
See?
that's for?
Yeah.
Never fail to learn
And you know what I
something.
thought it was for? I thought it was for like if you took a couple and they put the ring through it,
Uh-huh.
so they
Yeah,
can
to hold them in a.
to hold them in place. What you said makes a lot more sense.
Interior design.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
I love it.
So Nick, the only color that's changing is the gutters and downspouts are going from white to black, and everything else is staying same color. And
And that is not an aesthetic decision. That is a gutter availability of sheet metal.
yeah, okay.
Apparently, if you're rolling on site, your best is to get the white metal.
Mm.
But
You what?
have The white metal.
It's not available.
Everybody wants it, I
Yeah.
suppose, but we can do black, and I said, black will be very nice. And we love black. Black shutters,
It'll pop.
black gutter, and everything else is white.
I think it'll look real nice. Yeah.
Simple. Ain't too large, because it's white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not cheaper, but faster.
Yeah.
The shutters are the biggest thing. Probably like it.
But you're rebuilding. I mean, it's not like you're going out and going to Home Depot and buying vinyl shutters.
No.
I mean, you're getting custom made shutters to replicate exactly what you have.
Yeah, and that's
Not the love.
there will be no difference. Well, there'll be new.
Yeah, and they won't have the cutout.
Shine in, work. But size, shape, color will be the same, and I because now they joined them. Apparently, they joined them. I don't know whether it's joined.
Will they actually even include the little cutout in
No.
the top panel or no?
It's $100 per shot.
How much per shutter?
For the cutout.
So they will. So you're including, yeah.
But you're not doing it.
That's done on site.
Yeah, you're not getting the cutout done.
No, he is.
You are
Oh, you
doing
are?
cutout to match existing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And are all, I can't tell from the photo, are all the shutters solid shutters or
All of them are solid.
solid? They're not, nothing louvered or anything like that? Yep.
It says shutter cutout none.
Well, with the quote. But,
You're getting the
installers will do routing.
Ah.
Because that's a company in Minnesota, and that puts me back to another side.
Yeah, I was gonna say timing would be totally off on that. If you had to have them routed in Minnesota.
I made
But
and do that.
I'd make a motion to approve the installation of the roll gutters and custom shutters for the plan. Is that detail enough for you?
And the
And
painting.
painting.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Rod seconds it. Motion's been made by Joe, seconded by Rod. Connie.
Hi.
Mike,
Aye.
you don't get a vote.
Well, thank you.
Right. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you for the complete and proper application.
Yeah, very good on the first time.
All right, not so quick. We need to have a motion and a second on the minutes from the July 20th meeting.
I move we approve the minutes from July 20th meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
That Joe?
Second.
For some reason, I'm not picking up the difference in
Which
your
one?
two voices.
Which one of us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, I'll take it.
All right. And then A motion to adjourn the meeting?
I have one new business item.
New business. I got a slot for that. here.
Okay, I did receive, for some of you know him, may have met him, may have not, Fred Bonsall did resign from the Harb board, so he will no longer be a member.
It's the end of an era.
It is.
Yeah.
He's 30, I think 30 plus years on Harb. 12 or 20, they said, as chair, Darlene was telling me, so and pretty impressive. I'm gonna talk to Darlene a little bit more this week. We just found this out, so I'm gonna talk to Darlene a little bit more this week. Maybe there's thinking about maybe possibly doing something for him, a plaque or something like that associated with that.
How many? 30?
30.
All right. Motion to adjourn by someone?
So moved.
Rod, second? Connie, good, it's already typed in there.
Okay,
Let's get out of here.
All right.
let me quick.